Grand Theft Auto games tier list. I placed some of these already. This UK Grand Theft Auto, never heard of it. Grand Theft Auto Advance, I assume is for the Game Boy Advance, never played it. Chinatown Wars, I think that was for like the PSP, or that might have been actually the Game Boy version. Never played that. I've seen somebody play it. It didn't look all that interesting, but it looked like it was a decent version. Now the Ballad of Gay Tony and The Lost and the Damned. Never played either of those. Never was. You'll see where I rank Grand Theft Auto 4 amongst this, and you'll kind of see why. First up, you got the very first Grand Theft Auto, the one that started it out. In this game, you have a top-down view. It's okay. I'll put it below Chinatown Wars. It's just rough. It doesn't really hold up. It feels like you're playing a game that would have been on the first generation iPod Touch, not an iPhone, an iPod Touch, which came out first. It's just so old school that it just is. It's almost hard to go back and play. I've actually played these games before GTA 3 and all of the other ones, obviously. GTA 2, it's just got a little bit more going on than the first GTA. I think more weapons, more vehicle options, same top-down view. If you have if you come across the PlayStation Classic, these games are hilarious to play because they're already very hard. Like steering's pretty difficult, even if you play these games on original hardware. But you add the input lag of emulation. You add the fact that they use the UK versions, which UK stuff is on 50 hertz, where we in North America do 60 hertz. So it adds this very inconsistent lag, which is just makes it absolutely unplayable and hilariously awful. But the games by themselves, they're pretty good. But comparing them to some of the legends here in gaming, they do not hold up at all. Let's just grab one, see what it is. Vice City, S tier. Who we can. San Andreas, top of S tier. Vice City Stories. Ooh, this one gets interesting. So if you don't know what Vice City Stories is, basically between Vice City coming out and San Andreas coming out, they came out with Vice City Stories. Before we truly place that, I want to talk about Liberty City Stories. Now, Grand Theft Auto 3, for the time, absolutely revolutionary. And I think for that alone, it has to be S tier. Grand Theft Auto 2 was top-down view, whereas Grand Theft Auto 3 you had that third-person view. You could move the camera around. You could just do so much more that you never could before, and it just revolutionized the franchise. Took the franchise from being this tiny, tiny game with the first two GTAs to being a mainstream game. Grand Theft Auto 5, I think I put it right below Vice City. Liberty City Stories. Now, what Liberty City Stories is it came out between Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City, which Vice City's the next game after 3. So what Liberty City Stories is, it uses some of the features that would end up in Vice City. And it might have even come out after Vice City now that I think of it. But it's basically taking elements from Vice City and dropping it into Grand Theft Auto 3, which is crazy, right? Like you actually have motorcycles and more vehicles and like more weapons and stuff. It's just loading up Grand Theft Auto 3. Now, granted, it has less of a budget in terms of like voice acting and in certain elements, but they just use the same map from Grand Theft Auto 3. You just have all these added features. So like the campaign, you're not getting the like name actors for the voice acting. Not that you really got that in Grand Theft Auto 3. The main character doesn't talk in Grand Theft Auto 3. Um, but yeah, this is an improvement. You just have more features and like the camera work is better. You have more control over what you're seeing. It's like it's like the it's like if you kind of had like an in between game, and it is really dang good. Um, Now, Vice City Stories is the same situation, but you have all these elements of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas in Vice City. And the biggest problem with Vice City is that terrible map, right? And this is important because Grand Theft Auto, well, it's not important, but Grand Theft Auto 6 just dropped its very first trailer. And in Vice City, you had this sun that was just enormous, this big Florida sun. The problem is that there was this lens flare that they added in, and just it was blinding in the game. Not like hurt your eyes blinding, but really limit your view because all of a sudden your screen is just bright yellow and you can't see anything. And it was a really horrible thing that they put into Vice City and kind of drags it down to where I genuinely feel like San Andreas is like miles ahead of Vice City. So in Vice City Stories, when you take those extra vehicles, extra elements from San Andreas and put it into the Vice City map, what you get is phenomenal, absolutely ridiculous. Like the San Andreas has like way more motorcycles and vehicles than Vice City does. Just like Vice City is a step up in terms of vehicles from Grand Theft Auto 3, San Andreas is a step up in vehicles from Vice City. And you get those vehicles in Vice City, and they fixed the sun. The sun isn't just blinding you. So it actually makes the map of Vice City just so much more beautiful. All the beaches and just everything, you can actually see so much more of it more of the time, and it really works well. um so Vice City Stories along with Liberty City Stories, it just is like graphical update, but like on the same map. It's hard to explain, but it's an incredible experience. I think it's Vice City Stories is the second best Grand Theft Auto game, without a doubt. And then it's Vice City as a number three. Then number four is Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, obviously, 5 gets, I give it so much credit for its online. They definitely focused heavily on the online aspect. Not that they didn't put a ton of effort into the campaign. The campaign's cool. You get to play as 3 different characters and everything, but it kind of lacks the RPG elements that I really want, right? Because we all sunk our teeth into the RPG elements of San Andreas, and we just haven't gotten that again yet, and that kind of sucks. But Grand Theft Auto 5, obviously they know this game's going to sell. It's going to be, they knew that it was going to be one of the biggest selling games of all time, and that they have this monster of a franchise and they're doing so many things right that I just wanted more of the RPG elements. So they focus more on the online, and the online has a lot more of those RPG elements. It's just kind of like an MMORPG in a lot of ways. And it was really cool to see them give the online all these cool updates. They kept adding these features and so much stuff to do, and that's how the GTA 5 like RP community grew. It's that they fostered this environment to make a really cool game that I think is going to continue for a long time. I mean, obviously, I hope to see that role playing element in Grand Theft Auto 6, and I'm sure we will. But yeah, Grand Theft Auto 5 is great, but I just don't place it in the top 3. And maybe if I played more of the online, maybe if more people I knew got more into it. The problem is the first like 2, maybe even 3 years of playing it, the online was kind of a real hassle, right? Actually getting into games with your friends would be difficult. They eventually kind of figured it out, but initially it was just kind of a mess. Like I remember playing a team deathmatch online and it just being like sloppy, and the game was so big. I felt like that they should have just come up with a way to update the game in the combat system to actually make it so you can have a team deathmatch and have it really be like a fun, like well flowing, high octane game. I feel like they could do that. I feel like if Grand Theft Auto 6 really wants to be ambitious it will do that. It will make one of the best shooters out there, and they just haven't done that yet. And um, I feel like they had it. They were two moves away from doing that with Grand Theft Auto 5. If they had done that, it could be, my number two, but it's I would say it is right behind Vice City. Now we have Grand Theft Auto 4. The problem that I have with Grand Theft Auto 4 is the campaign never really struck me. Like, it never struck a chord with me. And also, just being in New York, I just I never really, like, I already played so much Grand Theft Auto 3. Having a graphical update, I know it's way more than a graphical update. Grand Theft Auto 4 is so much larger and so much more of, like, actually New York. I get that. Some things I just found really off-putting, like when you crash your car, you go flying out of the windshield. It just to me, that just isn't Grand Theft Auto, and it just slows down everything, and it's annoying. And yeah, I was just tired of New York because in the time between Grand Theft Auto 3 coming out and Grand Theft Auto 4, which is a huge amount of time between those two games, a lot of other games have used New York as a setting. I feel like New York was just played out by the time this came out. Like, we've just seen it again and again and again throughout various video games, and it just never reached that level for me. I think I got to move it to top of A tier, and I think I'll move 3 down to above it in A tier. 3 just changed the game in a way that 4 never did. And maybe even Liberty City Stories. Maybe I'll move that down to A tier as well. I think I played a little bit of Lost in the Damned, but I don't remember it. Like, I played it at a buddy's. He had it loaded up, and sometimes you play Grand Theft Auto and you're messing around. That's the beautiful thing about this franchise, is so much of the core gameplay is just doing whatever you want, the sandbox element of it. And ever since 3, like, they hit the nail on the head with 3, and they continue to. That's why this list is so top heavy with, like, later entries. I don't see them making a game in the next, like, 30 years that isn't in A tier or in S tier. I mean, there's a reason that everyone's talking about the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer that just dropped, and it's because they are clearly making incredible games and have been for decades now. And I'm so excited to see more and more and more of these games come out and continue to get the respect that they deserve.